Hi everyone, this is the Landlord Advocates, where we help landlords become better landlords. I'm your host, Matthew Lyman. On June 14th, 2019, Governor Andrew M. Cuomo of New York signed into law the Statewide Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act of 2019. That law, we looked at it, our team was looking at it, and we were thinking about doing a video explaining this entire law that's dozens of pages long to our viewers. We decided not to do that because it would become a mini-series here on YouTube. Instead, we decided to extrapolate the most grievous parts of this law, put them to video, show them to you, discuss them with you, so that you can know what they are, so that you can apply them to your role as a landlord, and possibly in court when it comes time to evict these same people. Now, when you look at the law, look at two words that comprise the name of that law: tenant protection. Now, when you think about protection, you think about like when you protect your child from crossing the street from getting hit by a car. You think about getting the flu shot so you don't get sick over the winter time. You think about wearing sunscreen to protect you from UV rays and sunburn. Protection from elements, protection from danger. So when you put the words tenant protection together, the only way a person can become a tenant is by renting property from a landlord. That's the only way you are a tenant. You have to rent property that you don't own from someone that does. So when you look at this law, Tenant Protection Act, by its very name, it is a slap in the face, a punch to the stomach by state government against landlords. Now, there's many aspects of this law that are very disastrous, very detrimental, very grievous to landlords. We are comprising various videos and taking out the worst parts to explain to you what they are. Two of them we've already done already. One was where you cannot do a constructive eviction, a self-help eviction, a illegal lockout, an illegal eviction on your tenants for whatever reason. That's universal all across the United States. To do that in New York State can lend itself to a $1,000 to a $10,000 fine, and now it's even criminalized to a Class A misdemeanor. Another part of the law that we had just finished a video on was where the landlords cannot do a background check on tenants as far as it pertains to prospective tenants being evicted, been evicted, or in the process thereof. To analyze that, it is a $500 to a $1,000 fine for each occurrence. So there's two aspects, but there's many more. The one that we're going to talk to you about today, and hopefully educate you on it today, we believe is one of the worst aspects of this law. One of the worst. And that aspect is this. When you, the landlord, wishes to evict your tenants that you placed, that names may be on the lease, or maybe in an oral agreement that you're going to live here and pay me rent, doesn't necessarily have to be in writing. All of those names you in effect to all of the eviction documents. Well, now the law requires that everyone inside the dwelling, whether you place them or not, had to have their name specifically put on the paperwork, regardless of whether you put them in or not. Regardless of their age. Yes, regardless of age. They can be 17 years old, 11 months, 25 days old, 13, 10, 7, 4, 1, or 6 months old. 1 month old. All of their names must be affixed to all of the eviction documents. The days of yesteryear when you can put down et al., which means in Latin, and all others, or the actual phrase, and all others, or anyone in possession unknown to the landlord. That doesn't work anymore. We have seen John and Jane Doe applying to the paperwork, and we have put that out there. We have not needed to use it yet. Where that comes into play is we've heard that if you have Jane or John Doe, and then you find out who the actual person is living in the dwelling, after you've initiated the eviction process, you can amend the paperwork in court to say, it's not John Doe anymore, it's Billy Bob that lives there. And some courts will amend the petition to put the specific name Billy Bob. We're not saying that they will. We know that some courts out there are not putting the child's names on the documents, on the warrant of eviction. We're going to talk about how important this is in a few moments regarding the warrant and when the sheriff, marshal, or constable comes knocking on the door to remove the tenants. That's momentarily. But some courts are not allowing. They're not saying, you are not going to put child's names on it. We are not putting the kids' names on the warrants. Now, we can tell you that our business and the landlord advocates fully support that. The problem is that some sheriffs in the 62 counties of New York are enforcing that. And if you do not have the children's names on there, no matter the age, they get to stay in the apartment when the sheriff says bye-bye to the other people in there. You know, you might say, who's going to leave their children behind? Yeah, that makes sense. But we've seen it happen. We've had social media sites such as Facebook where people have told us that. We have a particular page that we endorse highly called the NY Landlords on Facebook, where there's a lot of exchanges going on, a lot of information. So we highly endorse that page on Facebook. Specifically, if you're in New York, sign up for that page. Even if you're not, you can learn a lot of stuff from our channel and from NY Landlords on Facebook. And they have said that, yeah, we have seen that happen where they left their kids behind. You might say Child Protector is involved, but yet we have to see really how that comes into play. So now, you, the landlord, go to the property, and you go on in, and the tenants that you placed are there, and someone you don't know is sitting there, watching a movie with them. You're not going to question who they are, it's really none of your business, right yet. But then, a week later, that person, Billy Bob, is sitting there again. You're like, okay, I don't know. You get back a week later for whatever reason, and again, Billy Bob is there. Now it's spinning in your head, what's going on here? Who is this guy? Is he living there? You ask the tenant, who is he? Under the law now, this Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act, that tenant that you placed has 30 days to tell you who that person is. They can make up a name, whatever. That's obviously going to happen. It could easily well happen. It probably has happened many times already. But he or she, the place tenant, has 30 days to tell you who they are. Even on the first day, when you find out that person's living there, 5 days after these other tenants that you had placed yourself are living there, or your property manager has, now you find out that somebody else is living there. They have 30 days to tell you who that person is. Now here's why this should anger you. In New York State, as in probably every state in the nation, tenancy is acquired after 30 days of occupancy. That's allowed. So here, under the law, the sitting tenant has 30 days to tell you who that person is. Now under the law as well, the tenants that you place can move their family in. They're allowed to do that. They can move in a non-blood individual, non-blood, a friend. That friend can move in their dependent children. So you can end up having a whole menagerie of people living in your dwelling. And you have to know all of their names. And they have 30 days to tell you. That's disastrous. How are you supposed to know? And they're allowed to do that. Now, some could say, well, you can do a background check on them. Well, that could be 30 days later that you find out. They're already in the place. Why? They're already there. What's it going to do you? Really not. Then, After you find out who they are, hopefully you can put them on the eviction documents and you'll get your eviction in court, and the warrant and the sheriff, marshal, constable will come and put them out. Hopefully that will happen. But these tenants can put in anybody that they want. Now you can say that this is a small apartment and you can't house that many people. You can contact code enforcement and building inspector. What will they do? We have not yet seen that happen. Some of them want to remove their hands from it because they're worried about discrimination of any sort, family size. They're worried about any of that, so they back away. So now you're in court. You don't know who those people are. You have no clue. You gotta get these people out. They haven't paid rent. They're destroying the property. You don't want to wait 30 days to find out who this person is, only to find out that they lied. They've already violated your trust by moving other people in, even though the law says that they can do that. But you don't want them there. So now you give them the appropriate notice to get out. You don't know the other names, you're into court. You tell the court, I don't know who they are. The court says, well, we only can evict the named individuals on the warrant. The warrant is then brought to the sheriff's office. Now, in Albany County, the capital of New York State, the sheriff there has clearly stated that if the names are not on the warrant under this law, they get to stay regardless. And to add insult to injury, in Albany County, and I don't believe it was the sheriff himself, Craig Apple, who did it. It may have been the state or the county legislature, decided that each other name on the paperwork after the first name was $15 to evict them. So you pay the flat rate of what it cost. Now you have 6 other people in there. Now you're hit with $90 more on top of the flat rate to get all those people out. Who knows how many people there can be? Baby mama, baby daddy moves in other people, and now, who knows? But now the sheriff charges you more for that. You find out that there's other people living there. Now here's a couple of examples where we have been involved in cases with our clients where it has hurt them. We had one where the children were there, and the mom and dad, we presume one or both were parents. The sheriff comes and removes them. Landlord finds out that there's somebody been living there a few months unbeknownst to that landlord. That landlord had to commence an entire new eviction on that tenant. A whole new eviction. That added at least 2 more months to the process. Now, in that case there, it can be considered what we call a licensee eviction. It's a holdover sense, but it's not a 30, 60, or 90 day. Because you did not enter into an agreement with this person at all. You never accepted money from them. You don't know who they are. So we have been able to give those tenant, squad, or whatever you want to call them, a 10-day notice as a licensee. But still, you're looking at 2 more months to get rid of that tenant. We had one around the same time, actually 1 block away, where our office was involved again, and there was, we believe, 4 or 5 people that were named on the paperwork. Went to court, everything was won, judgment rendered, warrant of eviction done, sheriff came. The sheriff in our county, our home county of Schenectady County, the deputy that handled that, Derek, is a great guy. Just a great guy. And Derek went to that house with the 4 or 5 people, I can't remember exactly how many, and he proceeded to evict them. The problem is that when he went there, in this 3-bedroom apartment, when he went there to evict them, there were 8 other people living in this 3-bedroom apartment. 8 other people. 13 people living in a 3-bedroom apartment. Luckily for the landlord, Derek was able to ascertain the names of the 8 people, but that landlord had to initiate a whole other eviction on those 8 people. The sale of that house was pending. It was under contract. Luckily for the landlord in that case, the buyer held off until those other 8 people were out. But in the meantime, that was 4 months of lost rent that the landlord did not have, and that the potential, or not, I'm sorry, not the potential, but the actual buyer had to wait 4 months to close on that. The owner of that property could very well have lost the sale of that house. And with the lack of rent coming in, could very well have lost that property in a mortgage or tax foreclosure. And that's what could happen here. Now, some of you might be saying in Florida, California, Idaho, Pennsylvania, well, that's not really affecting us. We can put et al. On there. But in essence, with the situation of COVID-19 going on in America right now, we all are going through that right now because there's no evictions whatsoever. So analyze it from that point of view. Think of it from that point of view, landlords outside of New York State, and say, I can see where these landlords are upset in New York. Because even though we can do evictions later on, hopefully when all this is over with, and the names on the paperwork is not so relevant to the point where we can't get the warrant of eviction. But these poor landlords in New York State have to know every one of them tenants, and if not, they're going to get evicted. We're going through that right now. All of us are. Well, maybe not all, but most of America is going through that right now where we can't get into court, where we can't get a warrant of eviction, where we can't get the people out for destroying their property or not paying their rent. We're all in that boat basically right now. So you can see landlords outside of New York, our fellow landlords, you can see what we're going through here in New York. And remember, one of the things that we tell a lot of landlords in the seminars that we teach, the landlord associations that we go to, our social media platforms that we're on, we say a lot of times to them, remember, landlord, let's all help each other in the problems that we're facing. Because the problem that we help you with today could make it so that that problem that you're facing today is not our problem tomorrow. So landlords, we say this with a hug. Remember your fellow landlord. It may not be a problem you're facing right now. These situations here in New York, you may not be facing right now, but you could. So join us across America in empathy, sympathy on social media and say what's happening in New York is terrible regarding this Statewide Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act of 2019. There are other aspects of this law that we are going to go over later on. We're going to analyze them some more. There are other doozies, that will slap you across the face when you find out what is this law comprised of or what it does to you. But for now, we covered 3, and there will be many more. In the meantime, landlords, subscribe to our channel. Hit the like button. When you do that, it lets YouTube know that you like it, and it will push the video to other people to watch too, which in turn will grow the channel, which will allow us to do more for you, so that we can help landlords learn things. And remember, as we've said before, landlords, we are here with you, we are here for you. Plus, leave us comments below, subscribe to our channel, also subscribe to NY Landlords on Facebook. And if there's any landlord groups that are particular in your state, subscribe to them. Because my friends sit back at home and cry and complain and whine and about your situation in front of the mirror or as you're driving to work is not going to help you so much. Join other landlords across the United States, all your landlord groups. Pick up the sword and help defend yourself and other landlords across America against these awful laws that are existing now and other aspects that are facing you in each one of your states that are harming you to be a productive landlord and a profitable landlord here in the United States of America. Landlords, take care, be well. We'll see you soon.